Testing, testing. One, two, three. This is the Captain Mac speaking. Uh, Cruising at an altitude of 36,000 feet. Prepare for map down. Hear me, let me know, and I will confirm the audio is in fact. Thank you very much. Testing, testing. One, two, three. Testing, one, two, three. Is this thing on? Thank you for the audio confirmation. Very, very grateful there. Thank you, Atlam. 5x5, right? As you would say. Normally, I don't know why you changed just for me. Don't ever change, Atlam. All right, is this thing on? Welcome, one and all, to Mapmaker Monday. Hope you're having a rad, fantabulistic day. We're going to get the stream started here very shortly. Okay. Of course, my camera. Oh, there we go. It's all good. I left the lens cap on, so that'll do it. Won't it? That'll cause a problem. Welcome back, Damn Fam. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is an AI-powered map-making utility that's available on Steam. It allows you to build maps in a snap, or you can roll up your sleeves and waste your life away making map after map after map with the most intricate and beautiful detail you've ever seen. So, today's stream is a showcase teaching you how to build maps, and essentially it's a live map making stream. We call it Mapmaker Monday for that reason. Today's stream will focus on finishing up a build I've been working on for a couple months on the stream, and it is centered around our other week. We have a bi-weekly stream on Saturday called Dam Challenge Stream, or the Dam Challenge Stream, which is an ongoing map-making contest. The current Dam Challenge is Siege. If you're interested in participating, you make a map of any shape or size using Siege as inspiration. You post that map in our Dam Challenge channel in Discord. There's rules pinned at the top that give you all the information you need. But if you win a $10 Hero Forge gift card. Your map is promptly featured on the Saturday stream, the first map featured. You're featured on our social networking, and your map makes it into this living gallery where every map that has won the Dam Challenge up to this point is featured, except for 3. The last 3 I need to put in today. Soon to be 4. Anyway, so I'm going to use these 3 rooms here, and we'll fill those up with winning maps. I actually did not get much time to do any finishing touches during the week because I was incredibly ill. Still a little bit under the weather, but feeling much better. I'm hoping, pretty much everything that's afflicting me will be not bothering me by tomorrow. But I hope everyone had an amazing weekend. This map, as you see here, is called the Dam Challenge Gallery. It's essentially, like I just said, a bunch of rooms that are galleries featuring, sort of like a museum or an art gallery, that features images and assets from the winning maps from previous Dam Challenges. So here we have the Dinner and a Show map by Swedish Cook. If you scan this QR code, it goes to the Steam Workshop page. Yeah, I did see it, and it kind of just felt like they were stealing our homework a little bit, if I'm not lying. There's a few things in the Master of Realms, like UI, that is very similar to our interface, like changing the time of day and stuff like that. But then they seem to have a nice focus on area or city maps, which is something that's not necessarily Dungeon Alchemist's focus or strong suit. You can definitely make city maps with Dungeon Alchemist, but it's mostly focused on, say, encounters or environments, so battle maps and local areas. But I've seen some brilliant cities made with Dungeon Alchemist that would probably put most city building maps to shame. So it's really just a matter of opinion. I think overall that it looks like an interesting product. I'm waiting for them to deliver on it before I make any solid judgment. Let's just say that, because I need to see it in action, see how well it runs, and if it does everything they claim. Does that make sense? And I have no reason not to trust them, but statistically, Kickstarters, people understand that some of them don't always do that well. You know what I mean? Kind of moving on from that. Are you talking about our stretch goals or theirs? Sorry, I haven't really looked at their stretch goals. See, where one of our last ones is going to be focusing on an instant dungeon. So, like a one click, and it would generate a whole dungeon. Like, you can totally make dungeons using our AI and caves right now. Like, that's very easy in Dungeon Alchemist. I do it all the time. I think I did one the other day in like 30 minutes or something. And here, I've got an image of it. It turned out pretty good. But, yeah, you get what I'm saying. By the way, how are you, Shiloh? What you been up to? So I generated this map on Donjon, actually. If I'm not mistaken, it was this one here. And then I just used this as a tracing layer in DA, and it was a perfect fit. And then I generated this dungeon here, which is a bunch of just interconnected rooms with random puzzles and things going on in them. Some of them are physical challenges, some of them are fights, some of them are mental challenges. You know what I mean? I think it took me like 30 minutes. That's awesome. So how long was your last campaign? I was gonna ask everyone, by the way, how was your weekend? Did you get any gameplay in this weekend? Any tabletop gaming or anything of the similar? Any session prep? And otherwise, was your weekend fun, enjoyable, non-eventful, or eventful? Let's talk about it. What did you do this weekend? Like to hear from anyone that's willing to share. 2 years? Dang, what level were they at the end? '20, nice. So they capstoned? So I want to make sure. Basically, the last three maps I need to add, yep, okay, are these, yep. So I have put in room after room after room. Each room, I go and open the map for the map that won, and I look for cool items from the map and images, and then I decorate this room with that stuff. So what I'm going to do is save before I leave, and then... Oh, dang, Dyro, that sounds cool. What's an SCA event? Celtic? Trinity, sorry, I don't know that acronym. Please fill me in. Well, I'm glad you're here. By the way, Dyro, if you have any questions related to DA during this stream, feel free to ask. These streams are kind of like an AMA format, so if you need any help about Dungeon Alchemist, feel free to ask away and I'll guide you through it. Alternatively, I just want to say welcome to the community and hello. And if this is your first stream, I appreciate you coming and hanging out. The streams are very laid back and fun. We try to hang out, get to know each other, and share information and tips and tricks, provide live support. And, if you have any feedback or suggestions, we're open to it. We love, community feedback and community interaction in general. By the way, my name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. So it's nice to have you here. In fact, that goes for any new faces here. And repeat faces. I love all your faces. Appreciate you being here supporting us. Are you tracing it from the map, like from the maps from the modules? Or are you just doing them kind of freehand? Oh, that's very cool, Celtic Trinity. That sounds like a fun event. Oh, GM, Shiloh, that makes a lot of sense, actually. That's good to know. Dyro, what are the specs on your new PC? The desktop PC for, or is it the extra PC, I should say, for the TV tabletop? So if you have the digital version of the map, like let's say you have D&D Beyond, for instance, and you buy books there. If you have books there, they usually come with digital high quality versions of the maps, and those are great for tracing. It's a little tricky to trace a digital file that isn't necessarily a one-for-one match with DA, like Donjon maps are, but it is possible. Um, if you're interested, I can walk you through it a little bit, uh, but it is a little tricky overall. We do have some documentation on it, and as well as like on our wiki about tracing, and I'm more than willing to guide you through that if you're interested in learning. So this map is just a brilliant map made by Sailor Yugoth. I believe this was for the Worship Dam Challenge. And damn, was it great. Let's export this. We're gonna image only. Uh-oh, I need to get rid of the overlay. So I need to hide the overlays, which labels are great in some instances, but in this instance, I actually just remove them all and then export without it. Cool, that's awesome. Are you, which VTT are you using then? I'm assuming Foundry? Just based on what you just told me? So I just am exporting this map really quickly as a top down, so I have an image of it. Oh, really? You're using Infinite Realms and Owlbear. Nice. Have you checked out the Smoke Inspector extension for Owlbear? Plugin, or what do they call them over at Owlbear? Is it a plugin, a module, extension, something like that? So the thing about Owlbear Rodeo is they offer like user-based extensions where people will make like essentially an add-on that gives you more function. And basically it it allows you to take the exports from DA that are Foundry exports. So when you're exporting, if you go and set it to Foundry, the export, whether it's an animated or still map, you can export like that, and they'll both work with Owlbear. But it also comes with a JSON data file, a text file, that will give you line of sight data for walls, windows, caves, stuff like that. That automatically works with the Smoke Inspector plugin to save you a bunch of time. So that's one of the main reasons people get Dungeon Alchemist, is because they export their maps for, say, Foundry or Fantasy Grounds, Roll20 or above VTT. It incorporates all that data. So lighting, line of sight, walls, windows, doors, and cave walls. Biney Tubbles asks, might there someday be support for GeForce Now? That is a very good question, and it's also a suggestion on our upvote. Let me see if I can locate that. I don't think we have a mod here. Do we at the moment have a mod? No! I'm modless. You guys better be on your best behavior. Just kidding. Y'all are always amazing. So, I'm going to drop a link in chat, and I would encourage you to check this out. I mean, since you play local, you might even be able to host your games right inside of DA. You can turn on the grid, right, within settings. Oh, I didn't even realize I'm on low quality. You can turn on your grid, save that. You can also hide the UI. This is something I actually pushed for because I know many people in our community play from TV tabletop. TV tabletop. Or a projector tabletop or whatever. This will allow for in-person play to be facilitated a lot better. So, Biney Tubbles, this link I just dropped is a feature request on our suggestion board and living roadmap on a website called Upvoty. There you can make suggestions, upvote existing suggestions, and follow along with our living roadmap and see what we're currently working on or what we plan to work on. I encourage everyone to check it out and vote this feature up if you want it. But GeForce Now is essentially cloud-based computing where you can run Steam games through the cloud. And if you have like a tablet or a potato computer, you can play very, very demanding games through the cloud. And to be honest, I'll be very, very frank with you. Cloud-based gaming has gotten incredibly good in the last few years, thanks to, due in part to advancements with the FTL stream technology that was developed by Beam, Mixer, and then purchased by Microsoft and incorporated into their game streaming. And a few other services are using the same technology from what I understand. But essentially, it allows them to stream high-quality cloud-based gaming in real time, and a person really only needs like a controller and an internet connection to do it. I played on my phone, I played on a tablet, I played through my TV this way. It's pretty neat. As long as you have a good internet connection, it works well. Now, GeForce Now is a similar service. I've never personally used it. I was just kind of relating it to what I have experience with. But essentially, Dungeon Alchemist is kind of a resource-heavy program. It needs a lot of oomph to run. So that service makes a lot of sense. And it's actually directly linked to Steam. There's a way to like just activate it on the back end of Steam. So it's really just up to the dev's choice. It's not a high priority for them at the moment, because we're in early access and we're trying to focus on key features before we maybe offer cloud support. But, and I'm sorry for coughing there, excuse me, I've been sick all week, so my throat, my lungs, I'm just a little shaky when I talk. So what I was going to say is, please keep in mind, the more votes a suggestion gets, the more likely the devs will prioritize it. It's not a democracy. Highest votes don't mean immediate results. It means that they'll look into implementing it in the near future if possible. So, that feature, it seems like from my understanding and my research, the devs just need to activate a GeForce Now, like opt into it on the Steam end, and then it'll essentially start working. People on GeForce Now will see it in the library and can start using it as long as they've already, have Dungeon Alchemist, from my understanding, in their library. Now, I have petitioned the devs about this every time it's brought up. I bring it up to them. I will definitely mention this to them. I'm sorry I don't have much more information, but I am championing this feature. I am attempting to try and get it as something that they want to add, and I'm hoping with time they see the merit in it. So, upvote it, comment on it, get other people to upvote on it. The more of you that upvote on it and are interested in a cloud-based Dungeon Alchemist, that is a very interesting use case too. That's actually the first time that's been brought up. Typically, it's someone with like a tablet or kind of a potato or like a hamster wheel PC and they understand their machine can't run DA well, so they want GeForce Now to supplement that. And I understand that desire, and that's a great idea. It really is a good idea. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, and I've been very, very actively petitioning the devs for it in the back end. I would just say for now, upvote it, comment on it, get your friends and family to upvote on it. Anyone here that would support it as well, that'd be great, because I think it would benefit our community as a whole, having cloud support for the game, or for DA. So I hope that, and I appreciate you sticking around for that long-winded response. I wish it was a simpler answer, if I'm being straightforward. It's complex, to say the least. I mean, we could always just see how well it works. But yeah, I understand the concern there, Atlam. And the devs have, I assume, looked into it at some point and weren't happy with it. So, you know, I'm going to trust their judgment. But the more votes it gets, the more comments it gets, the more likely it'll be supported. Excuse me. Okay, let's get back to building, because I have not done much building in the last little bit. So I'm going to take some pictures of this map really quickly. Some unique shots. I think one I really want is inside here. So I got to switch into a token. Make this a little bit easier to navigate. And I'm going to disable collisions so this token can just kind of navigate freely. This is such an amazing inside structure that was created by hand. This is a great example of how you can build multi-level structures by hand if you have the time and willingness to stack objects like this. You can definitely do it. It's kind of like Lego in essence, where you can just, or blocks, where you put things on top of each other and around each other until they make a very intricate, beautiful, and unique structure. When you see something like this, like I always worry that people might be intimidated by it because they're like, oh, how? You know, the thing about it is I want to share these images, this amazing concept, because I want you to understand it's possible. Sometimes all it takes for someone to be able to make something like this in DA is just seeing it, is seeing that it's possible. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Isn't it kind of, it's weird in a way that it unlocks your mind to the possibilities, if that makes any sense. Because typically we look at DA as like a structured AI-based generator, map generator, and you know, you'll generate simple environments and simple rooms, like, really quickly. And that's what a lot of people use DA for. I would say over 50% of the community, that's pretty much all they'd use DA for, and that's perfect. That's what it was designed for, to save you time to make quick, simple, beautiful maps that your players will enjoy, that export to your desired service, whether it's for print or for... You need an exhibition stage, so like a stage for like a concert or like a play or something. Exhibition. What type of exhibition? Is it like is it a fighting exhibition? The type of exhibition could make a lot of difference in the type of stage. But I will say, Shiloh, on the workshop, there's probably 24 stages, and also probably twice as many arenas that could work for a variety of different exhibitions. Anything from a concert, a play, you know, an event of some sort, a duel, you know. One moment. Let me get one more picture from this map, and then I'll look some up for you, okay? On the workshop. Really want a good shot of this, like, ziggurat. this floating ziggurat. Because isn't it just, like, fantastic? I think if I could get a shot, you know what I'll do? I'll try and get the moon in the back. We'll find an angle where the moon's somewhere on the... You can export the maps as a JPEG very easily. They just save as our proprietary DAM format, or Dungeon Alchemist map format, which is a very lightweight file that works with the 3D models within DA and allows you to keep a hard copy, a master copy of the map. So that's the only way to open the map in DA, is as a DAM file. We call it a DAM file because that's what it is. Anyway, L. Grant, this is towards you, by the way. So with that in mind, if you want to export as an image or a video file, you just hit File, Export. And then here, there's a bunch of export options. So you can export for a virtual tabletop if you play on a virtual tabletop. Maybe you just want an image only, as you said there. So here you can export it, and it will export as a JPEG. You can export with the grid on or off, right? And once it's exported, it'll be a JPEG file. That you can convert to a PNG relatively easy in almost any photo editing software. There's hundreds of free options online for that. So converting from, JPEG to PNG or vice versa. But you can export just as as an image file very easily. So it says here, image only. Or alternatively, maybe you want a video export. You can also do an animated video file as a WebM or a MP4. However, MP4 is only recommended for small maps, and I highly recommend exporting at a low DPI, because high DPIs are meant for print quality, not for video quality. Animated maps are meant for a lower DPI. The render takes forever and is more likely to fail or cause your GPU to artifact at higher DPIs. Okay, so I need to get this picture really quick, and then I can show some maps. Need to present, so kind of like a King Kong expose, like where they captured him and they're like, "See this magnificent beast," and he's all chained up on the stage. Is that what you're going for? Kind of like that feel, Shiloh? It's just not a good shot of... Yeah, no problem, El. I'm here to answer your questions. If you have any more questions or concerns, feel free to ask away. By the way, my name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, and this is actually our official channel across all of the platforms that we're streaming today. We are on, at the moment, currently live streaming on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Kick, and Trovo. So all of those are our official stream platforms and will be going forward. Very excited to have more streams for our community. It's going to be exciting. I need to like a shot of this. That looks really good. What do you think? With the moon kind of off to the side and the citadel behind. Maybe I can get all... It's greedy. Don't get greedy, Mac. Don't get greedy. Okay. Dyro, it's very possible to make ships, and there's actually probably several dozen pirate ships or pirate-looking ships on the asset browser. I'll show you those in a moment, okay? So I've gotten all my screenshots of this map, but before I leave, I need to pick 2 objects from the map that will represent the map and what it is and what it's about. This fountain filled with blood could be very cool. And also, I think these are pretty cool here, these little bone spires. They look really neat. I don't think I'm going to be able to make a ziggurat like this beautiful as a tiny thing, so I was going to pick 2 items that kind of fit the map pretty well, the aesthetic. So those 2 seem like the way to go, the bone spire and the fountain that we changed to blood. Moving on, I'm going to go to the Steam Workshop here. Anyone can do this. Up at the top here it says Steam Workshop. You can browse the repository of over 9,000 8,000, or not 9,000 maps, sorry, 8,300 maps and nearly 3,500 assets on the Steam Workshop. Okay, so maps are pre-made maps that other members of our community have made and shared. These maps are great to use in your own campaigns or as inspiration, a foundation, or just to look at and learn. Get in them and reverse engineer them, learn how they made it, because you can kind of pull it apart and learn from it, right? Now, kind of moving along with that, you were looking for a stage. I'm going to search stage. So I went to browse and I typed stage, and right off the bat, I'm getting a bunch of options, but I'm thinking maybe we should type theater to kind of condense our options and see what comes up. So a couple come up right off the bat that are really good. This one here, this theater, playhouse, lobby, auditorium, has stadium seating where it kind of tiers down. It has a stage. I don't know if this stage will work for you, but it is a perfect setup for, you know, showcasing a large animal for a lot of people. You just have to make some adjustments, maybe put some chains on there or something, or maybe like a dome, like a bubble that is like a force shield around it or something. There is this one here, another map by Sailor Yugoth, is also kind of got a stadium setup, and it's a little bit more magical that might fit the aesthetic of showing off a monster. Maybe it's like they show off magical items, monsters, curiosities, and other things, you know? I don't know exactly what you're doing in your story based on the context 100%, but I think there are a few options that can give you some good inspiration, or even just a map you can use right off the bat. So here we have a stage where there is a setup for an orchestra. Look, there's a monster already in this area here. I don't know. This place looks really cool. It's insane what people have figured out. The Rose stage? Let's check it out. Oops. Ooh, so you like, okay, more like an more like an amphitheater, or like an auditorium. It's not an auditorium. It'd be more like a, yeah, it looks more like an amphitheater, or maybe like a, kind of almost like a setup for like fighting, you know? Like a fighting pit or something like that. A coliseum even. But this definitely has an amphitheater vibe to it. But I mean, search stage, theater, you know, stuff like that. You'll probably find something that could work perfectly for you, or you could just use it as a base inspiration and go from there. I'm not sure why they did this one floor there. I feel like it got shifted by this, like when an update came out, because that doesn't seem like they did that intentionally. But you could easily fix it. I mean, it's go in here, look at like wood, find the wood that matches. In this case, it looks, yep, that. And then we find this patterning here, which is that one. Yep. And then we just get it all to the squares and it matches up a little bit better. I don't know if that's what they intended to do, and if it was, I apologize for changing it. I just kind of, the way the patterning of the wood was, it seems like the damn file got shifted after an update, which happens sometimes. I've had one of my files on the workshop shift a stage to the side, like it's an arena for, like a jousting arena that I've made, and it got all messed up, and then I had to fix it and update it. So like here is this here, the King's Tournament. Really simple jousting arena that I made. How you doing, Seisu? Glad you're here, my friend. But, like, I came back to it one time, and this whole section was shifted to the left. It was really awkward, so I had to fix it. I don't know why it did it. Still to this day. It's all fixed now, though. Okay, So we had some questions. Let's see here. Let's get back to it. You want to take a look at some ships really quick. Let's just take a look in the asset browser first, and we'll type ship or boat. There's quite a few ships already that look great as, like, you know, a pirate ship or galleon of some sort. Be careful. Some of these assets are small, some of them are big. So just make sure you see the file size before you download them and play with them, because if a file size is massive, like this one's 61 megabytes, that makes the map that much larger. Okay, so, and some of those assets are kind of poorly optimized for DA, so the more assets you install from the workshop, I wouldn't go on a shopping spree and just download everything you see, because it decreases the performance of DA. The load times are increased between each map and just loading DA in general, and if you don't have enough RAM to offload all the assets you've downloaded before it loads up, then it will crash or it freeze or, you know, cause problems. So definitely just only sub to assets as you need them, unsub after, use them for your projects, save the map. You know, that'll have the asset tagged in it, and then that way if you ever open up the map again and need the asset, it'll prompt the download. The workshop and DA automatically triggers downloads you need. But this is like a 5 megabyte ship. And it's a nice little, you know, galleon, or... That's too big for a sloop. Good to know. I mean, everybody's computer is a little bit different, so I don't like to assume. But the baseline of our community is kind of, you know, the average, just bare minimum specs to run DA. So I always kind of speak to that, if that makes any sense. Hey, Splendid, thank you for the follow. Restream chat was kind of slow. L. Grant asks another question. Oh, Seisu answered already. So yeah, we don't plan to do localization or translation until after we leave early access. We plan to, but I don't know which languages for sure at this time. There is kind of a short list of languages that we're considering, but basically we want to wait until all the objects are added and Dungeon Alchemist is more in a final state before we do any localization, because then it can be all done once instead of once every update, if that makes any sense. So we definitely plan to, but it's in a future time. In a future world. You may find yourself in a beautiful house. Okay, I really love this map because the whole 10 by 10 challenge, which means the map had to be 10 by 10 or less, really pushed our community's creativity to its limit, because you really had to play with the space and get creative with it. So a lot of maps had a lot of verticality. This one here is no exception. It took advantage of that, and it looks great. Thank you, Seisu. Sorry, I'm just trying to save this image and my folder kept acting funky. Wasn't opening. Got it. So now I just need 3 more shots. I think this little area down here warrants some further investigation. A shot of this. What I would think will be cool. Change the lighting here. Then I can put a token. Oh, token. Until I turn off collisions. If you're ever having trouble getting a token to fit in weird spots, turn off collisions, because then it allows you to put objects in a lot more spaces. And if you hold control, you can pretty much place it anywhere. Notice it stops being all finicky if I'm holding control or snapping, because now it's no longer snapping to grid. I can place the token, I can resize it, whatever. But I'm going to use this. Oh, I can't see out. Okay. What I want to do, pro tip, if you want to see the outside of a building instead of just that plain black, or maybe you don't want to see the outside, which is usually the preferred room. Oh no, it's a cave. Ah, okay. So if you go, this was carved as a cave. That is incredibly clever. I didn't know that. So if you go over the cave like this, notice it's showing the light inside. I'm essentially telling it that it's not actually a cave, that you can see the sky above. Instead of it having a ceiling, it has none. So now when I jump back into that token, before it was just a black sky, now you see the moon above. I really like capturing a moon in shots, especially when it's kind of a cool, like Twilight looking shot like this. It really adds to the aesthetic, in my opinion. These types of the shots I'm taking, you can use these types of shots in your own campaign for handouts. You can, record stuff or take screenshots to use as like cinematic handouts, or to describe a theater of the mind area, or to give people more angles of a view of a map. Additionally, I really enjoy using the token to walk through a map and see how it feels in that space, because the token fits a 5x5 space. So you want to make sure it's navigable and has room for combat if you plan to facilitate it. Or if you're trying to make combat more difficult, obviously, make it tight quarters where there's not a lot of room to navigate. What is the challenge now? It's Siege. So basically, the current challenge is Siege. You make a map of any shape or size using Siege as inspiration. Submit it to our Discord in the Damn Challenge channel. There is some rules pinned at the top. If you click the pin icon, you can check the rules and, make sure your entry is valid. Sorry, Atlam, I did not see your response there. I think my chat thing is a little delayed. Okay, so I've got my shots here. Let's move on to the last map. I'm just going to take all the pictures. Oh, you know what? No, I need to make sure of what we put in here. So I'm thinking one of these posts, chained pillar. Did he put these lamps on himself? Yes, he did. Okay, interesting. And then what else? Maybe some of the mushrooms? There's not a whole lot of objects in the map. Could do like one of these arches, a gate. By the way, you only have until the 26th to submit a map to the Damn Challenge. So if you are interested in participating in this current one, you only have a few days left. The map doesn't have to be, huge, and it could be small, it could be big, it could be very intricate, it could be simple. Really, the only thing is you just got to convey the theme Siege in it. And I mean, even if you take a different, unique approach that still feels like Siege, it's great. In the past, we do themes that are kind of more open-ended and allow people to pick and choose the approach they want. And Siege is somewhat a little bit tighter focused, but then you can use that in your own campaign. If your map, so you're putting time into it, you can definitely still use it in your own stuff. Sieges happen, pretty regularly in campaigns. Okay, we got the Necropolis Temple District, which I'm going to fill these paintings. If you weren't aware, many paintings and parchments in DA can be customized. You can put custom images that are JPEG or PNG inside of these, which means you can essentially put, images of the party or maps or, clues hidden inside of these things that you can further immerse your players in. I remember I wanted to do the fountain, so we'll look for that. First things first. Off. Turning off collisions. Why do I turn off collisions? Very simply put, when you have collisions on, and it's not a bad thing, but when you have collisions on, there is essentially restrictions where objects are kind of forced into boxes or clip into certain spaces, and it's hard to put them by each other. When collisions are off, you can move objects into each other, merge them, make custom new objects, or put them much closer than you're normally allowed to the wall. Then they're automatically placed. GM Shiloh, we definitely plan to add more weather types. I'm not sure when. I feel like we should be adding weather types each update, but I feel like they plan to add more weather in the future, like in a big, like one-off, a bunch of them, you know what I mean? But I've heard talks of like rain and clouds and things like that, so it's a possibility. Our particle effect artist, Kenny, is essentially constantly working on like on particle effects and things that are on his to-do list, and I think they're on that list as well. I'll have to talk with him and see where it's at, like what stage it would be at. Okay, so if I remember, we were going to do the Bone Spire. One of these, right? That one looks pretty cool. We could put that in there, and we'll just shrink it down. Open the display case. Try and put that on the shelf. Rotate the Bone Spire. Load. And then... So yeah, definitely Shiloh. That is most definitely on the agenda. I gotta take another look at that fountain, because I'm not 100% certain which one it was, and I'm drawing a blank looking at them. Gonna save this. I'm gonna do the next room. Still should save regularly. Save often, my friends. By the way, a new feature in our next update that everyone can be very excited for. Autosave. Many of you have been wanting autosave for some time, and we will be incorporating this very, very core function feature very soon. Essentially, you'll be able to set the autosave up at intervals. There's like a 5-minute, a 10, 30, 1 hour, and basically, essentially, if you set that interval, if you save the map once, you'll have a master copy of the map, and then it'll automatically start auto-saving that map at the interval your autosave interval is set to. So, if it's 5 minutes, every 5 minutes it'll create an autosave that'll be the name of the map, autosave, timestamp. And it'll replace the older autosave every time it makes a new one. That way you're not having hundreds of autosaves. So it'll only have, like, the most recent autosave, if I'm not mistaken. No, saving every 7 days makes 1 week. But Hey, Medic. Well, welcome. My name is Mac. This is Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility that allows you to build maps and better immerse your players into tabletop gaming. So if you have an interest in games like D&D or Pathfinder, this might be something for you. Or if you just enjoy things like The Sims, it's also a great utility to just kind of unwind. But yeah, so Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making tool, an immersion utility. So right now I'm building a gallery that is actually full of other maps. So it's showcasing other maps. But this isn't necessarily the best example of what Dungeon Alchemist can do. Let me open a map and show you. Do you happen to play D&D or have any interest in something like that? Fantasy tabletop games? And I'll apologize on behalf of YouTube. If they're recommending us to you and you have no interest, I'm sorry. Like, that's just YouTube algorithm on, algorithming itself. So, do you play D&D as a GM, a DM, or do you play as a player? Or both? Assuming you have an interest in being a DM for D&D. Oh, okay, you've played as a player once. Gotcha. So this would be maybe something more your DM might be interested in. It would help them make maps for your, your gameplay sessions if you're continuing playing with that person. Or that alternatively, you may have expressed interest in D&D, through YouTube or watch skits and stuff like that. So that's possible. But welcome, regardless. It's nice to meet you, and it's always nice to get more YouTube faces in here. But essentially, when you were playing D&D, the DM probably had maps for you to look at or images to kind of paint a picture, like a theater of the mind shot. Unless they did everything like 100% imagination, they likely had imagery associated with it. And that's what this tool is for, is to help make maps and set up shots for that. Hey, Swifty Goth, I'm sorry I missed your stream, but I did drop by and give you a follow after the fact. Okay, so let's get back to... Actually, let's open up that other map so I can see what I was going to add, because there's that fountain. I think it's 2 fountains put together. Sailor Yugoth is really clever sometimes with his stuff, and he does little trickery mix and matches of objects to make new ones. So I want to make sure I get it right. Yep, okay. That is definitely 2 fountains. Okay. I was wondering why I could not find one that looked like this. So there is a font and a fountain. Good to know. You know what I really want is open recent. Like under file here, it'll just show like your most 5-10 recent maps you've opened. So you can just open from recent instead of searching through the files. That's awesome, Swifty. So you made an abstract? Well, that's cool, Medic. I honestly, so that's probably why you found us. You have a remote interest in D&D. This is D&D related. This is primarily a tool for DMs and GMs to help craft their campaigns, but many players also express interest in the product because they either plan to become a DM eventually or they want to gift it to their DM. because they love the maps and or just want them to have a better map making experience, because making maps in Dungeon Alchemist is incredibly simple, straightforward, and quick if needs be. Honestly, don't worry. Yeah, I'm still on my first coffee. It's not even 10 a.m. here yet. I get it. I totally feel you. World building is really fun. It's incredibly fun. It's nice. It's a good relaxing activity. You don't even have to be planning a campaign, because world building ultimately could be, say, you're writing a book. You know, if you don't end up making it into a game, you could always turn it into a comic or a graphic novel or a book. Or it's just a great exercise for yourself to write and create. You know, it doesn't always have to be for a purpose. Not all creation has to be for a purpose. That's the neat thing about art, you know? I actually spend a lot of time in Dungeon Alchemist making maps that never see the light of day. I just enjoy therapeutically building maps. Sometimes I'll just mess around in DA to unwind and relax. Never plan on saving. Hmm. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Yeah, I think it was that one. Or am I crazy? It seems like it's this one right here. Or maybe this one here. But we don't have that as a standalone. It looks like he might have merged it into it. That makes a lot of sense. So what I'm going to have to do, and I think I'm going to put this in here. Shrink this down. By the way, when your collisions are off, you can also shrink objects way past their normal limits or expand them way past their normal limits. You can also raise them up and down on the Z-axis. What I'm going to do, make a purple light like this. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like they hid... Oh, you know what? I know what they did. They just took the lantern by itself and put it by it. Yep, that's a way simpler solution. I'm a doofus. Because it looks like it's on the chain thing there. Which these pillars, if you have two of them, they actually link together. It's kind of a neat little feature. So, Psyche, this is a supplemental tool for D&D. Honestly, the isekai concept, you know, Sword Art Online, etc., you know, Log Horizon is one of my favorite isekais, actually. That one's really good. I was sad it was canceled because I think they're still making the manga. But essentially, the concept, it has a deep stem in, you know, MMORPGs, which, guess what? Coincidentally, get a lot of their rules and stuff from tabletop RPGs. Games like Baldur's Gate have been using the D&D rule sets for years, and essentially games like WoW and Lotro and other MMORPGs use similar rule sets and math formulas to help determine, you know, rules of combat and whatnot, but it's just much faster because a computer facilitates it. So, let's see here. Do I have any advice for how to make the ground floors longer? When I put a base floor on, the generator walls are shorter than the average pillar doors. I'm sorry. Can you rephrase that? I'm a little confused as to what you're trying to do there. I apologize. I want to make sure I get that right. I mean, yeah, pretty much. It makes sense. It makes sense there, medic. Okay, basically I notice it seems to make it so even lights, antlers, and wall hanging have to be really low not to hit the ceiling. Gotcha. So I will say the chandeliers and stuff like that, the hanging lights, they're big on purpose so they look good in a top-down export because there really is no need for it to have a reference of location in top-down only, right? It could be right over the floor and look like it's hanging above it. So that's kind of the reason they did that. Remember, though, you can resize those. You can resize the chandeliers to make them smaller. You can raise them up and down to give them more placement if you disable collisions. And if you want taller walls, one thing I can recommend is to just add a second floor of walls. So, I mean, at this point, these walls are like 6, maybe 8 feet tall. I don't know. Are they 10 feet tall? Does anyone know the exact height of our walls? I feel like they're between 8 and 10 feet. But if you go into objects, structural, freestanding walls, you have every single wall type available as a freestanding wall. So you can come in here and find a matching wall if you want to do that, right? So I'm looking for, this one is a dual pane, or the triple pane with the boxes underneath. This one here is the close match. Yeah, that's the match. So what you want to do, you can hit Control, right? And then snap it into place and then just raise it up to the next floor. Once you get it right into place where you want it, right? That's the pocket. Hit this plus here just once and then hold shift and control. And as you place these, it'll automatically snap and fit right away. If you're holding shift, that will duplicate the object as you place it. If you hold control, it'll snap. So I'm gonna rotate that. It snaps into place right above. Boom, 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 boom. That's how I would create a second floor very quickly. So you could raise this up, and then you could put the second floor up here and put the chandelier somewhere up here. Typically, chandeliers are only in tall, vaulted rooms anyway. They're not going to be in a single room, you know, like a very low-hanging room, unless it's a low, like a very high-hanging chandelier. Does that make sense? I'm going to just build this all the way around so we'll have a point of reference. Oops. Accidentally hit the Windows key. Weird. Okay, but collisions are off. That shouldn't matter. That is weird. What the heck? I moved my mouse around until it was like, okay, that's okay. Did you see that? What the heck? This is definitely a bug. It's such a tiny, like, pixel area. It is being, it's because it's right at the edge of the map, I'm thinking. But anyway, we've got the wall up there, and then I'm just going to do something really simple to make a ceiling. That is just a really basic way to make a ceiling, okay? It's nothing fancy, but it'll work for what we're trying to do. Now, you could either just stretch this out across the whole space and make one big ceiling, right? Or you can make a bunch of them together as a ceiling, and then that way you can have one open space for like a stair. So if I Control Z this to the squares like this and just I can leave that one empty, or, you know, a space for a staircase or a ladder somewhere. I'm just gonna seal this off, and then we'll put a token inside. So this would be a ceiling, or like a room floor. So right now, technically, I'm just showing someone how to do something. I'm not actually building anything pertinent to this map, but this is a gallery, a museum that will showcase maps from previous contests that have won a challenge in the past called the Dam Challenge. So this would be kind of a primitive, you know, put a ceiling. You could leave one open for a spiral stair or a ladder or something. You know, I don't have an answer for that, Psyche Dragon, but I do know if you, instead of set it for print size as your setup, you know, like if you enable for print, right? Like when you set up a new map, instead of doing it for print, set it for digital. Then you can make the map any size you want. And what you can then do is use a service like Adobe Premiere, or not Premiere, Adobe, what is it? Adobe Acrobat, right? Or there's websites, one's called Rasterbator, and essentially it allows you to split the image up into equal-sized images, and you could set it to an A4 split, so it'll break it up into a bunch of A4 images, equal-sized A4s for printing. So essentially you can make a map of any size and then cut it into your print size. That is one way of doing it. But yes, Medic, that's correct. It's like a Hall of Fame. It is hard because the objects inside of a chest, there are collisions all around, and when you resize an object, it makes their collisions a little bit awkward. So you're essentially competing with all the colliders on the objects, which makes it troublesome. And that's why it's a problematic. What I would recommend is get the objects exactly where you want them, and then leave them. That, or put all the objects on top of a single abstract, make that abstract invisible with a blank PNG. You can resize and move all the objects, and it's usually easier to grab that abstract because it overhangs. It's usually invisible and overhangs far outside of the chest. So what you could do is essentially... Here, let me show you. Yeah, Psyche, I'm glad I could help. So what you would do is place an abstract object like this, right? You can make it oversized, and then place all the objects on it. I'm just going to put a bunch of random things on it to give you an illustration. Then, if you resize all the objects on this, they scale together, right? So they work in tandem. That means you only have to do one rescale. And then you insert into this a blank PNG instead of a regular image. And now it's an invisible floor that you can move around as one solid object. Does that make sense? And it's out farther than the objects themselves, than these little tiny guys, so it's much easier to grab. That would probably be my approach to getting around the tight collider space of a chest, or move the chest away first, and then move the objects, then move the chest back. The other thing too, remember Swifty, if you take an object and you just raise it like the tiniest bit off of its axis, like its placement, it's no longer constricted as much by other colliders. They don't bother it as much. You can move it sideways, you can move it on any plane essentially, and it'll kind of stay floating at that height. Even if it's just a millimeter above the floor, this still works. Yeah, it's essentially like The Sims meets Baldur's Gate. Medic. So it kind of allows you to, essentially chill out, build, environments for fun that you could potentially use in your games or never use at all. Like, it's designed to be just a fun tool. I see it as very therapeutic, cathartic, if you will. I really enjoy making maps in Dungeon Alchemist. Oops, didn't rotate that one. And then I was going to put an arch, right? think it was an arch. Shoot, what was it called? It wasn't an arch. Was it a door? I hope not. That. The gate. This is what it is. Cool. Like a Stonehenge thingy. Hey, Psyche, you're welcome anytime. Thank you for being here and enjoying the map, enjoying the stream. I really appreciate your support on the YouTube front. And remember, we offer several streams a week. This goes for everyone. But before you take off, if you could hear me out, we have a stream every Monday, Mapmaker Monday. It's always at 9 a.m. Pacific. So depending on your time zone, let's say you're Eastern, that's 12 p.m. If you are like GMT, I think that's 8 p.m. and you can kind of extrapolate from there. If Saturdays are a better option for you, we host a stream as well. Every other Saturday is the Dam stream where I showcase community maps and assets and answer questions AMA format. Every other Saturday is the Dam Challenge where we host a map making contest. The current contest is Siege. And then lastly, we host a stream in our Discord every Wednesday. It's Discord exclusive called Office Hours. Very laid-back stream where we take community suggestions, feedback, provide live support, and host in AMA format. Our next stream that is Office Hours is actually a very important Office Hours. We have a guest, Wim de Hare, one of the creators of Dungeon Alchemist and one of the lead artists. The visual lead for DA will be present, answering questions. I'm sure sharing some leaks for the stream, on the stream for our upcoming update, Magic, which is coming very soon. So check out this link, RSVP. You'll be able to at least find out more about events, and if you click interested on it, you'll get a reminder when we go live. Moving on, back to the build. Let's get back to the build. I'm going to save, and then we're going to go back to the previous section and figure out that font fountain thingy. Oh god, please don't crash. So we had a font that was square. Am I crazy? Okay. Yeah, I'm missing the one I think that we need. I'm going to type fountain. I know this is one of them, so we'll add this one first. Going to set that to blood. And then there was a square one. Right? Or am I going crazy here? I may have to look at this map one more time. Well, fantastic, Psyche. We'll see you there. Hopefully. Hey, Medic, you're more than welcome to hang out. And if you have any questions or anything, let me know and I'll answer it for you. So save one more time because I always just want to make sure the save actually worked. It said font on it. I searched it, but I searched font and I'm not seeing font for that one. There was supposed to be a square one and it's nowhere to be seen. I feel like it's not showing up in my build, which is crazy. I'm going to just open the map really quick. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, so I'll be honest, I'm a little bit biased, but yeah, I know I work for them. This is my job. So I support the community with these live streams and offer live support, teach outs, showcasing of, community maps and assets. Essentially, I'm here to provide live support and community engagement. So the people in our community know that we're active and doing stuff and answering questions relative to our development and whatnot. Oh, nope, it was not. It was not square. Okay, it's a stop sign. Well, yep. Yep, okay. Let's get back into the map. I feel dumb that I didn't notice this. Ooh. But I do very much love map making. That's part of the reason I got this job in the first place. Is I am a long time content creator, streamer, and I'm a fan of the product. I was given a gift. A friend gave me a copy of Dungeon Alchemist. Before I knew it, I had 500 hours in the program. And I reached out to the team, and this was 2 years ago now almost, and I said, hey, I really love your product. I, was wondering, do you have a stream team or a content creator team? And we spoke about it a little bit, and they're like, well, we don't have any plans for it. And then it kind of snowballed into me becoming the community manager. So essentially, before I knew it, I got a job offer, and I started managing all our social network platforms and, coming up with community initiatives and giveaways and streams and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's my job. So I will be very transparent with that. In fact, I tell everyone that on the stream. I am in 100% an employee. I feel like it was this one. Oh, no, you can't take the top off that one. Again, disabling collisions, turned it off so I can put this into that. Meaning I now merged it inside and hit it. Portion of it, at least. I'm going to bring this fountain up on top of that fountain. And then bring it down into the other one, just like theirs was. So now I recreated their fountain. You know what? It's probably the best job I've ever had. I love our community. I love my bosses. I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to schmooze the people watching or get a raise or something. It's a very fun job. It's kind of my dream job, being able to, get paid to do content creation and community engagement. For years, I was a streamer on first Justin TV, then Twitch, then Beam, Mixer, Facebook Gaming. I've been twice partnered. I've been to, conventions. I've done activations of games in the past, like new games are coming out and they had me stream it first as one of the first people. And it's always been a dream of mine to be a community manager. So when I was able to segue into that, it was fantastic. It's been, a blessing for sure. I love hanging out with our community. I love Dungeon Alchemist as a product. I love D&D. I mean, it's an amazing job to be able to essentially talk about D&D all day and get paid for it. Like, put yourself in my shoes. It's a pretty cool gig. Yeah, I wish that for everyone. A career that makes you happy. A career that makes you fulfilled. And, it's something that at the end of the day, you're proud of the work you do. That's how I feel about Dungeon Alchemist. Okay. Looks like we've only got one more room left. And then it's just down to fine-tuning this map, which is insane. I'm going to save this. What, Dyson, this bugs you? Not being centered? Just a little off-centered? How are you, Dyson? Welcome back. Gosh, it's crazy looking at all of these. So realistically, what's left is I got to make labels. These little outdoor, like the little, this is the name of the map. This is the creator of the map. This is the QR code to the Steam Workshop page. So you can go to it, subscribe if you want. That is one thing that we need to fine tune. Another is in all of these like rooms, at the end of the hallway is this dead space. Now I'll be extending the hallway probably soon in a few weeks because we only have 2 rooms left after this. So that's only like a month more of dam challenges. And so I made this as a modular build that I could extend as needed. But I want to kind of put like benches or maybe displays at the end of the hallway, like cool assets from DA, stuff like that. I also plan to move these paintings over here because that way if you put a bench or a display here, it's not super close to the painting where the data for the room is. And then that way they'll be symmetrical even more. Because on this side, they're on the inner half, but on that side, they were not. They were on the outer, so wasn't a perfect mirror. But yeah, last week I saw this and decided I wanted to change it. I'm just going to quickly move these over and then save, so that's a permanent fix. The QR code thing, I'll be doing that offline because that is something I don't want to waste time doing on stream. That's very little map making and more graphic design. So my wife, the Mrs. Mac, and myself will be doing that in my spare time sometime during the week. Dyro, do I have some good news for you? Do I ever? So our next update, which is titled Magic, and it's closer than ever. I would say we're pretty much slated for the middle of next month to the end of next month. Somewhere in there is a very good estimate. So mid-May to end of May. I would say end of May is the proper, just safe estimate at this point. But in our next update, you will be able to do a lot of stuff with the structures before you generate them. Let me show everyone just a quick teaser from our next update. So I'm sure you're familiar with generating a square structure, but I want to point out to you, you see these little dots? This is a new feature that'll be in our next update, and this is how it works. Let me show you. You'll be able to essentially reshape the room to have round and diagonal extrusions or cutouts. So you can have a round cutout into the building like a bite, etc., an indent, a V indent. Stuff like that. You can rotate the structure and then generate it. After you generate it, you can no longer rotate it or move it. But before, yes, you can. You can no longer reshape it anymore either, if I'm not mistaken. So, essentially shape the structure the way you want. Move the structure to where you want, within reason, and then generate the structure. You'll be able to make round rooms. I mean, you know we have quite a few round hut options within, or I guess not necessarily round, perfectly round, but we do have some huts in the object menu. Have you seen those? As you're kind of new, I'm assuming you likely haven't. But you will be able to generate, round whatever, rooms. Let me show you one other thing really quickly that is part of this update that is very, very important. You'll be able to put the structure if you're in an environment biome. The last one was the gray, dark parchment biome. But if you're in an environment biome, you'll be able to raise the structure up or countersink it into the ground before you generate it. So rotate it, move it, raise it up, raise it down, set the shape of the object to the room to whatever you want, and then generate it. Hiatus Pro, at the moment, I'm actually wrapping up work on a build, but I can show you some tips for making a hot spring if you give me a moment. Let me save this map really quickly just to make sure. And then we'll open up a map and just show how I would make a quick hot spring. In fact, I've actually already made a hot spring, so I'll show you that one first, and then we'll go from there. So this here is a map I made when we launched our Winter Wonderlands update, and I called it Remote Hot Spring. And simple description, a remote hot spring deep in the wilderness. For a bullywug resort, nice. There are some bullywug maps already on the workshop that you may want to look at for inspiration as well. Or you might even be able to convert one into a hot spring. That's one huge benefit of Dungeon Alchemist is people can share their maps with each other through the Steam Workshop as well as 3D models through the Steam Workshop. So, Dungeon Alchemist has like 6,000 assets, but with the workshop, that's almost 10,000 assets because there's like 3,500 there and about 6,500 in DA. So between the two, you have a larger library. Many of those assets on the workshop aren't necessarily fantasy based too. They go into anime, they do futuristic, sci-fi, cyberpunk, modern, zombie apocalypse. So you can make all sorts of maps with Dungeon Alchemist using the assets from the workshop. Getting maps from the workshop saves you time because someone likely made something that you could just use and works already. So what I did here is just kind of made a water area, and then I used an effect. We have these effects, and one of them is steam. So just kind of make the brush small size, brush density, and just paint some steam over the water area. That's a really simple way to make a hot spring. You could seclude it in, a canyon, or like I did here, I did kind of an icy hot spring in the middle of the wilderness, which would be They can, yes. We offer animated exports for Foundry. So if you go to the export tab and go to Foundry, you can export it as an image, which if you exported it as an image, it'll just have the steam kind of over the top as a still. But if you export it as a video, depending on the size of the map, you can do MP4, or if it's a small map, you can do MP4. If it's a large map, you're going to want to do WebM. And I am going to just tell you right now, Hiatus Pro, do not use over the 72 DPI for animated exports. First and foremost, Foundry recommends 72 DPI for their still and animated maps. That's their recommendation and ours. Secondly, the export time is exponentially less. Instead of like hours, it's minutes. The file size is much smaller when you do 72 DPI, and the quality is actually great. It should be labeled standard VTT, not low. That's misleading. It's actually very good quality at 72 DPI. The file sizes are smaller, which means it'll more than likely work in Foundry. If they have a file size limit and a resolution limit, which you cannot surpass. The higher the DPI, more likely to happen. Lastly, if your players have like maybe low quality internet or throttled internet or maybe a data plan that is limited, a bigger map is not going to be good for them. Or if they have a computer that's not that great, a bigger map isn't going to be good for them. So you want to, move your campaign around the weakest link in your gameplay chain. If one player can't load the maps consistently, it's probably better to lower the quality, shrink the size of the map, the file size, and then that way everyone can load it and play it and enjoy it. Medic, on top of that too, it actually is a one-time fee. So that's a lifetime license, and you get all future updates. The only exclusion to that is, so like all of our stretch goals from our Kickstarter will be free updates. So the next update, Magic, free update. It'll update on Steam automatically. Until we leave early access, all of our updates will be free, and quality of life improvements and things like that will be free as well after. Patches, fixes, stuff like that. But we do plan to offer paid expansions. This was due to community request. We never planned to until this was something that came up. Many people want to expand upon Dungeon Alchemist and offer different environments entirely. Instead of just fantasy, they want, say, cyberpunk, sci-fi, modern. So we will offer optional paid expansions that come with thousands of, say, cyberpunk-themed objects, maybe 40 new room types, and a dozen new environmental biomes. And that will work all within the Dungeon Alchemist AI and toolset. Yeah, there's no annual subscriptions, no monthly subscriptions, and those expansions will be kind of like how old games used to offer expansions. They're optional, and they're not required to have DA function. The core DA will be the main DA. Those will just go above and beyond what DA can offer. a combination. The size of the map, its width by height size, is important. So when you go in here, if you go to export, if you do an MP4, if it's too big, it'll tell you. If you go to export a map, if it's too big, it'll give you an error saying MP4 is not recommended for this. MP4 has an upper size limit for like 4 and 8K or whatever. Beyond that, it can't do it. But WebM can exponentially scale in size. So you could have like 100 by 100 animated map. Wouldn't recommend it, just mainly because they're a burden on your PC. Animated maps it's a new thing. It's kind of like the Old West, essentially. Everyone's starting to add the functionality, and they're fine-tuning it and making it better. And it's getting better all the time, but it's still not quite amazing yet, Yeah, they are not a necessary purchase. The DLCs won't be like a season pass or anything like that. If you want Cyberpunk, get it. That was something we offer. We never offered in our Kickstarter. We were going to be strictly fantasy aesthetic. But so many people love our tool and want different biomes and different aesthetics using Dungeon Alchemist as the platform to make those maps. And they play, different tabletop games that are sci-fi, cyberpunk, modern, etc. So they need those. I mean, technically, it is quite possible to make, like, Fallout maps in DA right now. I've seen, in the last 6 months, like, several dozen Fallout 5 themed maps, or, like, post-apocalyptic themed maps that could work perfectly for Fallout, or maybe a zombie apocalypse like Walking Dead. But, like, this map here was made using assets from the workshop. So they essentially sourced assets on the workshop and then built the map from scratch using the tools in DA, which is a very clever approach, in my opinion. But both the hiatus, both the grid size and the export size. So if you set it at 72 DPI, if your map is still pretty big, say width by height, it'll keep the file size as small as possible on that export. So kind of like maybe, like how a JPEG could be a high quality JPEG, the more megapixels it is, but it's still, there could be the same version of the same image that's a little bit less quality and it's lower megapixels. Does that make sense? So that's the kind of thought process here. You have more pixels or dots per inch or pixels per inch with a higher DPI, which drives up the file size. Does that make sense? So with animated maps particularly, you want to keep them at 72 DPI. I still recommend that for still maps too, but that's just personal preference. Fallout 5? What do you mean? Did I say Fallout 5? I never said that. By the way, has anyone seen the new Fallout show? Holy cow, I'm going to just warn you, it's quite gruesome, but it is very, in my opinion, true to the... I mean, you can kind of run TV tabletop maps using DA already if you, like, add, turn on the grid and disable the UI. We've added those functions to support that. But right now, let's say you wanted the ability to add, like, Fog of War or, line of sight stuff or, tokens or monsters. You probably want to use a tool like Dynamic Dungeons. Dynamic Dungeons, can do still maps, animated maps. And it's meant for staging and in-person TV tabletop or projector tabletop play. Oh, so you want to... Yep, yeah, unfortunately, no. I mean, not anytime soon. I would say we plan to offer VTT... Excuse me. VTT Lite features at some point. These VTT Lite features will likely be after we leave early access. I've not seen, any information internally about us adding that to an existing update, but it could possibly happen in any of them. But VTT Lite features would be things like Fog of War, dice rolling, line of sight stuff, or maybe a companion app or like a second screen option So you can maybe edit on one side in DA and then it real time updates the view on the other side, but doesn't show the UI, or the players on the other side can't manipulate anything. I definitely would check out upvoting on that, and upvote it and comment what you might want on it, because it's going to be one of those things that will require, a bit of work and time. Let's move these rooftops to the side. Not sure why they did that. Is there an image underneath? That would be the only reason that it would make sense. Oh, I guess they just don't want the person to see outside. But yeah, this is just like a... No, it says Fallout 5e, so it's a 5e version of Fallout. Our exports already support dynamic lighting if the VTT offers it. So like Roll20, for instance, has dynamic lighting, and it works with that, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure. Or maybe it doesn't yet, and people are asking. Gosh, I get so confused sometimes because there's so many feature requests. But I mean, something like this is a great little Fallout build. Looks fantastic. Not bad considering they made it out of, just items from the workshop. Okay, going back to maps I need to finish. Let's get this giant table map done. We've got about 25 minutes left in the stream, so if you have any support requests, have any questions, suggestions, feedback, anything like that, then now is the time to ask. Please make sure you escape. Giants dinner time is what I'm going to call this. I'm going to export this as just an image, set it to 72 DPI. Okay, we got the first image. So this map is a super scaled map, and it's designed to be a giant's, dining room, essentially. And if you are a token in this map, you are tiny. Look how tiny the token is. Let's turn on the grid so you can see it below. That's how big this map is scaled up. So this was created entirely by hand. The walls, the objects were scaled up by hand, which is a tremendous undertaking. To do this, you would have to disable collisions first. When you disable collisions, that's kind of like hack mode for DA, unlock mode, cheat mode, if you will. It essentially allows you to merge objects together or get them much closer than you normally would, and allow them to stay in that location. Additionally, you can raise objects up and down on the Z-axis. And lastly, you can scale them up or down, pretty much infinitely. And this allows you to overscale an object to make it much larger. So in this case, what I think the creator did is they probably decorated a small table with all this stuff and then just scaled it up. Well, this was created by a community member. Her name is Coco. And she made this map and submitted it to the map making challenge and won. But yes, all of the assets you see in this were created by a very talented team of in-house artists. In fact, I would like to point out that all the assets in DA, except for ones from the workshop, of course, which those are user created or user shared, the assets in DA that are used for the AI or the object brushes or in our object panel by default are all created in-house. None of them were purchased or whatever by a very talented team of artists. Additionally, our AI was trained entirely in-house. No public data or maps were scraped to train our AI. And our AI is considered kind of last gen by our devs. It's procedural AI, not generative AI like GPT or Midjourney or DALL-E. So instead of using it, essentially we train the AI, giving it certain data sets, and then it learns off of that and it extrapolates how it can generate rooms or environments based off of that data. So we will never take maps off the workshop and train it that way. We'll never take public maps or images of maps online and train it that way. We will never get any public assets and incorporate them into the AI either. So, I mean, there's a lot of licensing issues there that we don't want to, steal people's assets or use them without their permission. Everything with the development of our AI and our assets is above board. Very ethical approach. And we feel that making maps for games like D&D using AI, that's probably one of the best ways you can use AI, in our opinion. I think using AI for like medical care and using AI to generate maps quickly to save time for session prep. Like the average DM needs 3 to 5 weeks of time for session prep, sometimes even more. And if map making takes up a lot of time, a tool like Dungeon Alchemist speeds that up. Actually, no, not unless you want it to be. We don't have any FPS like restrictions within DA that you can set up or change, but you can use like Steam's tools to manage and change that. So like I locked my FPS to 60. That's just a personal preference, but you can set it through the launch options with Steam. So I have it set to go to a specific monitor and a specific FPS. Otherwise, it'll just kind of go whatever your computer can handle your max FPS. I will point out that we will add options like monitor and FPS stuff with time in our menu. I think because we're in early access, we don't have any things like that. Rise, yes, we do plan to add more options for weather. Right now, there will be, it's not something that is going to be immediate, but if you want to just change to a dark atmosphere, going in and adjusting the lighting is probably the quickest way to do that. I mean, adding like a purple lighting or a red lighting or just setting it to dark can really help making an environment more dangerous or moody almost immediately. The light filters are probably the quickest way to do that right now. And almost any map, I mean, you could do that on any map. So are you trying to make like, so what I would do in your case, let me just open up a cemetery. Yeah, the thing is Dungeon Alchemist it's a 3D render engine where you're building an environment in 3D in real time. So I do think capping your FPS can be very beneficial if you don't have a very powerful system, Medic. I can't speak to that hiatus to a degree. I mean, I imagine with time they may consider it. It might be an option when you upload the workshop to just check. Maybe like a little legal thing that you could check and opt in for your map being used for training in the future. But for right now, that hasn't been something we've ever discussed internally, mainly because we don't want to breach into that. Wow, that's cool. That's awesome, Rise. So, Rise, I would say probably, let's just pull up a cemetery really quickly, right? Here's one that's got some fog in it. That's a great tool to add to it, too. If you add some fog effects, it can make a cemetery feel a lot more scary, right? We'll come back to this map in a minute. I'm going to show this really quick. Yeah, I think for right now it is kind of unlocked, but it's because we're in early access, so some things just aren't fine-tuned yet. Dungeon Alchemist will remain in early access until we've delivered on every one of our remaining stretch goals. So we have 6 stretch goals left. Magic, our next update, which is slated hopefully before the end of May, will be one of the 6 remaining, and then after that, there's 5 more. We deliver on a stretch goal roughly every 3 to 6 months. This update has been the longest gap between updates, We launched an update on November 28th, and, you know, now we're getting into May, which is about 6 months. We had a major update at the end of August, a minor update at the end of November. But yeah, you can add weather using using modules or plugins through your virtual tabletop. And in fact, we recommend doing that. Like there's one called FX Master for Foundry. You can do like rain, birds, fog, like clouds, all sorts of stuff. It's usually better to do that stuff on the VTT end instead of in DA because it's a little bit lighter on your users, processors, internet connections, stuff like that. So I'm just going to load this cemetery really quickly. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's capped or not. I just know I use that to cap it at 60 because my monitor can't go over that, so I don't really care to have it go over that and use excess power. So here is a cemetery, okay? And this map is 100 by 100. They put some Steam effects, which these are very, very burdensome on your CPU, GPU. Then I'm just going to quickly add red lighting. And just like that, this cemetery became dark and scary. Maybe purple instead. Again, feels very, Twilight, moody, mystical, and perfect for an encounter. You could just use dark and then turn down the brightness a little bit so it's more dark. So there's a few ways just using lighting can really affect your map. You can additionally add lighting to the map in various spots. So take like a candle, for instance. You could put one of the candles, disable collisions. We're going to turn up the brightness, maybe make it purple, and hide it inside of something like this so it casts out light from it and gives off more mood lighting. So that would be the way I would adjust the lighting of a map to quickly get the mood right now if you're not able to get the aesthetic you want using the assets. If that isn't getting you what you're looking for there, Rise, I apologize. There's not much more I can offer at this time. But yeah, Medica, that's definitely something because we're in early access. There's just little things that it's like, why isn't this the way it is? Or it would be more optimized if it was this way. It's because early access. There's just so many random little things that need improving and fine-tuning. Like, we don't even have an autosave feature or an open recent feature. We're getting an autosave feature in our next update. By the way, our next update will include a demo, which means you can play with DA without purchasing it first. So if you're on the fence, could be a good time to check it out when the update launches. So I wanted to take a picture of this because inside is a little person locked in there. And I think that is iconic to kind of showcase how tiny. You can see the big pig on the side. That's pretty cool. Next. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. I'm glad we were able to find a solution for you. Another favorite part of mine is the fireplace in this map. So I'm going to get a good close-up of this fireplace. Just need to kind of get the camera. I might delete this chair temporarily. So I have a better angle. I'm just going to delete it and then put the camera down there. I can always Control Z to undo that and put the chair right back. Won't be too trivial in the long run. Darn it. Okay. I need to do nighttime. Nope. We'll just have to deal. Got to get the angle just right. Oh, it is. It is. I mean, I've heard from our team, our artists, that the average asset takes about a week to make. So we only have 10 people on our team, so like 5 artists. They make 5 assets a week, maybe a couple more if there's some simpler ones. Our next update has something like 650 or 615 plus assets in it. It's crazy how many assets were incorporated in the next update. Very impressed with what the team pulled off in this. I want an angle of this nettle soup because it just looks so good. I'm thinking like something like this, where you can see the nettles and then the stuff behind it. Let's focus on the nettles and like this right next to it. The little sausage stacking and the deviled eggs. Because doesn't it look just beautiful? Okay, I need to pick 2 items from this map. I might get one of these wine bottles and get the label from Coco. Well, we don't really need it, Swifty. I mean, we sell DA. We made plenty of money from our Kickstarter, and we sell DA still, so we make funds from that. We did consider doing that at one point, where we were going to open up the channel to be affiliate. But the problem is we'd have to run ads that aren't DA ads. So there'd be ads once an hour that aren't DA affiliated. And secondly, we could only stream on this channel while we're live. We can't multi-stream to other channels at the same time. So, our channel runs ad-free at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, because we're not affiliated. And because we're not contracted with Twitch through an affiliation, we can multi-stream to multiple sites simultaneously without them getting up in our case. We were planning on doing it, and we were going to just, any money we raised through subs and bits was going to go to a charity. I'd even found a charity. We were going to do a charity that plants trees. That we think that's responsible because a lot of people print maps in DA, use ink and use paper. So we thought maybe offering a way to help offset that a little bit was a responsible first charity. But the problem is we ran into some of the legalese with Twitch, and we realized it was going to be limiting the stream and causing issues with our viewers more than anything. I mean, we multi-stream to support now our entire community. Honestly, if anything, it would just go to giveaways for our community, stuff like that. It wouldn't be anything above and beyond that if we did anything like that. But yeah, we are multi-streaming everywhere, hoping to expand the multi-stream to Steam and TikTok and Instagram very soon. But right now, we are on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Kick, and Trovo. And Facebook. Oh no, please tell me you saved recently. Please tell me you saved recently. Okay, I think I'm going to use the Sphinx. And then we'll do a wine bottle. And I'll talk to Coco and get a custom label. So we'll do that as one of the objects. So let's go back to my map. Gotta hurry and finish that up because I gotta leave right at the end of the stream today. And not run long because I have a doctor's appointment. Dungeon alchemists can make big maps, and it's directly proportionate to your computer power. So the more powerful your computer, the bigger the map you can make. But I will tell you some tips to help you fine-tune building bigger maps. First off, setting DA to low helps tremendously. So you can go into settings and set quality to low. So if you're at high quality making big maps, you're not doing yourself any favors on frames. The more zoomed in on the map you are, the less of it has to render at any given point. So zooming in on one area of a map will increase your performance. No, DA just crashed. No. The other thing too is you can disable natural animations. If you go to the View tab in the top menu, there's an option to disable natural animations. So things like trees, water, they'll stop moving, and that actually saves you a few frames. You can eke out a few more frames that way. Autosave soon, TM. No, we don't offer a public beta for the community. We keep our beta internal. Mainly because our devs are perfectionists and they'd rather fine-tune and test internally. Okay, what is going on with DA right now? Wait. This is not good. If this map is crashed and bad, that's not a good thing. Okay. Because I put weeks and weeks into this. And I just didn't have a backup of like the last couple weeks' work. In fact, I'll probably do that right after. Yep, so if you go to the overlay tab, Swifty, you can either use the labels that we offer and just put in a text label really quick. We also offer map elements like a compass or, you know, like a border. You can put a border around the map. Or if you use the abstract section here, you can insert custom images like a watermark or custom art to put anywhere on the overlay of your map. And same as before, that's a 1024. So, Rise, do you click wait or does it always crash? And what are your PC specs? Let's hear a little bit about it if we could. If you, in your Windows search bar, type DXDiag, that can will pull up a little Windows prompt and it has an icon that's like an X or a yellow X or a blue X or something. And that shows all your PC specs if you're Windows. Oh, you're not? Okay. Well, if I had that info, I could help. But yeah, 200 by 200 is a massive map. In fact, we usually only recommend going up to like 100 by 100 unless you have like a God tier PC or you're using like a virtual machine. Like one user in our community has a crazy virtual server that he runs DA off of and does massive maps. But if it's crashing every time you load DA and you can't stop it, you can delete the map from the auto load in the DA files. I'm trying to remember where that is. Give me 1 second. If you load Steam, right click on Dungeon Alchemist, you go to Manage and click Browse Local Files. And go to Dungeon Alchemist. I think one of these shows the most recent loaded map. Say, Sue, am I right here? Am I off on this? I swear it's one of these. Ah, I know where it is. Might be here. Somewhere there's a way you can delete the damn file of your most recent map, and it'll cause it to load to just a blank one. Oh yeah, medic. I'm run DA on a 4070 right now, but I have a stream rig and a game rig. So DA is on a. I'm running it on. See, 128 gigs of RAM, 4070 Ti. Basically, I can load almost any map the community can make. There's a map on the workshop that is insane huge. It's like an overworld Legend of Zelda map. I'll load it just in 1 second and we'll check it out, okay? What was the other item I said I was going to show off in this map? Oh, it was the wine bottle. Okay. He's just going to put one of these in there and put a custom label on it, which I'll do later. Unfortunately, I got to wrap up the stream, everyone. If they're a giant, it'd be a very big bottle. So I'll put that there, and we'll leave it open, so that indicates I need to update the label later. Yeah, I mean, big maps, man, you're going to struggle. I would open a smaller map first. Make sure your settings are set to low, right? Save that. That'll give you some frames. And then disable natural animations. And this is, you're going to have to do this in another map before you open DA. Or open this big map. If the big map won't open anymore, or any map for that matter, you may want to verify the integrity of your DA file, see if something's corrupt. Also, make sure nothing else is running in the background. No browsers, no alternate apps when you're loading this massive map. But if you can't get it to open, it's likely hit a critical mass point where there's too much assets and stuff on the map to load with your current settings, or the map became corrupt. Something's wrong with it, which would be awful for a map of that size. I hope you have a backup with an alternate DAM file. You should be able to run that map. I don't see any reason why not, especially zoomed in, but I'll show you really quickly. It is a big map, though, my friend, and that is part of the problem, is because DA is a real-time editor in 3D rendering editor, you're going to run into an incredible burden on your GPU, CPU, and RAM simultaneously with a map that size. If it keeps crashing, I would definitely pop into our Discord, create a support ticket, and we can guide you through removing that file from the load order so it won't load anymore, and then you can try opening it independently instead of when DA runs, because it's trying to load up all your assets, third-party assets, all that stuff, and the map simultaneously. Here, I'm going to load up a map right now. It's pretty massive. This will be the last thing I do on the stream today, because I got to take off after this, everyone. I really got to go. But this map here, notice it's burdening my PC trying to load. If you get an error from Windows saying close or wait, just click wait. But this map here is insane big. This is a Legend of Zelda overworld map. So the Nintendo, like the original NES. Oh, the average file size? I mean, this map here, probably only 20 megabytes, because our proprietary DAM file, Dungeon Alchemist map file, uses text data to correlate to our assets. Every asset has a tag, and depending on the location of the asset in the map, it's given a text tag. So it saves a tremendous amount of file size. The only reason a map would get big is if you start incorporating assets from the workshop or images into custom things like the paintings and abstract files we've showed. But this is probably one of the biggest maps on the workshop. How big is it? I think it's like 100 and something. Oh, 256 by 88. It's very possible to load maps of that size, but your computer specs are a direct correlation of how big of a map you can build and load successfully. So the more powerful your machine, so your map that's 200 by 200, is there a lot of assets from the workshop in it, Rise? All right, everyone. I got to wrap up the stream. I'm waiting for that last question answer to come through. But other than that, I want to just say thank you to everyone that hung out today. We had a lot of great participation from YouTube today. I'm so happy to see that YouTube is coming out to play and more people are watching the streams. Appreciate the community support there. Again, my name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Anytime you pretty much see a social network post, or you can see me in our Discord, if you need any help, assistance, you can ping me, or you can create a support or question thread in our Discord, or at me on our various social network platforms. I'm here to help you and support you. So if you need any guidance in your map making or your campaign, feel free to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. Otherwise, thank you so much for participating in this very successful Mapmaker Monday. We basically finished the damn challenge gallery. All that's left is some fine touches, which I'm going to do next week or next Monday. I'm going to put in just a couple finishing touches and hopefully have all the QR codes done by then. And I'm going to reduce all the image file sizes so the map shrinks down to a much smaller file size. So basically, all the images, I'm going to run them through an image condenser that makes them like 1/5 the size. That'll shrink the map down quite a bit. Anyway, thank you so much. Yep, it is Mac. It was nice to meet you, Medic, and Rise, and everyone else that's new here today. Thank you so much for participating. We'll see you next time. I give a damn. Mac out. Bye. Bye. We're going to end this with a quick little ad, and then we're going to wrap up.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, and before...
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him!
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever, find family, kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have
To the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered mapmaker, on Steam today.
All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Appreciate the love. And we'll see you next time I give a damn. Mac out.